I got two questions for you. What do you do and how do you do it?
There are three things everybody wants. Everybody wants to be wealthy, everybody wants to be happy, and everybody wants to be fit. I know there's a lot of virtue signaling that goes on, like we don't want money and I don't care about being happy and happiness is for stupid people. But let's face it, like you want to be rich and happy and healthy.
Yeah.
Like that's the trifecta. They can actually be taught, right? And a fitness, I'm not going to teach. There are a lot of people who know a heck of a lot more about fitness and health than I do. But I was born poor and miserable, and I'm now pretty well off and I'm very happy. I worked at those, and so I've learned a few things. There are some principles. I've been carrying them in my head for 30 years, and I've been sort of living them. We like to view the world as linear. I'm going to put in 8 hours of work, I'm going to get back 8 hours of output, right? It doesn't work that way. The guy running the corner grocery store is working just as hard or harder than you and me. How much output is he getting? What you do, who you do it with, how you do it, way more important than how hard you work, right? Outputs are non-linear based on the quality of the work that you put in. The right way to work is like a lion. You and I are not like cows. We're not meant to graze all day, right? We're meant to hunt like lions. We're closer to carnivores in our omnivorous development than we are to herbivores. As a modern knowledge worker athlete, as an intellectual athlete, you want to function like an athlete, which means you train hard, then you sprint, then you rest, then you reassessed, you get your feedback loop. This idea that you're going to have linear output just by cranking every day at the same amount of time, that's machines. You know, machines should be working 9 to 5. Humans are not meant to work 9 to 5. If you go back to hunter-gatherer times, how we evolved, we basically worked for ourselves. We communicated and cooperated within tribes, but each hunter, each gatherer stood on their own and then combined their resources with the family unit. But there was no boss hierarchy where you're like the third middle manager down. In the farming age, we became a little bit more hierarchical as we had to run farms, but even those were still mostly family farms. It's industrial work with factories that sort of created this model of thousands of people working together on one thing and having bosses and schedules and times to show up. The reality is, I don't care how rich you are, I don't care whether you're like a top Wall Street banker, if somebody can tell you when to be at work and what to wear and how to behave, you're not a free person. You're not actually rich. So we're in this model now where we think it's all about employment and jobs. And intrinsic in that is that I have to work for somebody else. But the information age is breaking that down. Information technology is making it easier and easier to do these transactions externally. It's becoming much easier to communicate with people. I can send you small amounts of money. I can hire you through an app. I can rate you afterwards. We're seeing an atomization of the firm. We're seeing the optimal size of the firm shrinking. It's most obvious in Silicon Valley. Tons and tons of startups constantly coming up and shaving off little pieces of businesses from large companies and turning them into huge markets. So what looked like the small little vacation rental market on Craigslist is now suddenly blown up into Airbnb. But what I think we're going to see is, whether it's 10, 20, 50, 100 years from now, high quality work will be available. We're not talking about now driving an Uber. We're talking about super high quality work will be available in a gig fashion, where you'll wake up in the morning, your phone will buzz, and you'll have 5 different jobs from people who have worked with you in the past or have been referred to. You decide whether to take the project or not. The contract is right there on the spot. You get paid a certain amount. You get rated every day or every week. You get the money delivered. And then when you're done working, you turn it off and you go to Tahiti or wherever you want to spend the next 3 months. And I think the smart people have already started figuring out that the internet enables this, and they're starting to work more and more remotely, on their own schedule, on their own time, on their own place, with their own friends, in their own way. And that's actually how we are the most productive. The information revolution, by making it easier to communicate, connect, and cooperate, is allowing us to go back to working for ourselves. And that is my ultimate dream. Even when I run a company and I have employees, I always tell those people, hey, I'm going to help you start your company when you're ready, because I think that's the highest calling. So this idea that we're all factory-like cogs in a machine who are specialized and have to do things by rote memorization or instruction is going to go away. And we're going to go back to being small groups of creative bands of individuals setting out to do missions. And when those missions are done, we collect our money, we get rated, and then we rest and reassess until we're ready for the next sprint.
I think people have to be very careful to not get trapped along the way with things that you can afford with your current lifestyle, but they're also imprisoning you in the fact that you are now going to have to work this 40-hour-a-week job. Working for things as rewards is a real trap.
It's the biggest one. There are two great addictions, heroin and a monthly salary. Right? And that's why you can't get rich renting out your time. Because even when you start charging more and more for your time, it's this slow upgrade loop. You upgrade your house at the same time, you upgrade your car at the same time, you move in the neighborhood. Even lawyers and doctors who are charging $300, $400, $500 an hour, they're not getting rich because their lifestyle is slowly ramping up along with their income, and they're not saving enough. So the first thing you have to do is you have to own a piece of business. You need to have equity, either as an owner, an investor, shareholder, or a brand that you're building that accrues to you to gain your financial freedom. Essentially, what you want to get everybody to is retirement, but not retirement in the I'm 65 years old, sitting in a nursing home collecting a check retirement. Different definition. Retirement is when you stop sacrificing today for some imaginary tomorrow. How do you get there? Well, one is you can have so much money saved up that just your passive income off of that, without you having to lift a finger, covers your burn rate. Keep your burn rate low, right? A second is you just drive your burn rate down to zero. You become a monk. A third is you're doing something you love. You enjoy it so much, it's not about the money.
Right.
So there are multiple ways to that path, but the most common is people just say, I need to make more money. And the kind of wealth creation that I talk about is about creating timeless principles and adapting yourself so that making money won't be an issue. And you can do it by doing what you love, right? Like we get into this model of, I must work for other people, work my way up the ladder. I must do what that person is doing to make money. But really today in society, you get rewarded for creative work, for creating something brand new that society didn't even know yet that it wanted, that doesn't know how to get other than through you. So the most powerful money makers are actually individual brands, people like yourself, or Elon, or Kanye, or Oprah, or Trump, right? These are individual brands, eponymous name brands who themselves are leveraged. You're leveraged. You have podcast media going out to everybody. That's leverage. The podcasts work for you when you sleep. They have knowledge that nobody else has, which is your knowledge is the knowledge of being Joe Rogan. I mean, who else is a UFC commentator and a podcaster and a comedian and, interested in all these things and knows all these people? Can't replace you. So we have to pay you what you're worth. Because of this unique, what I call specific knowledge, because of the accountability that you have with your name, because of the leverage that you have through your media, you're a money-making machine. I'm sure at this point I could make you start over tomorrow, wipe out your bank account, you'd be rich again in no time, because you have all the skill sets. So the way to get out of that competition trap is actually to be authentic. Find the thing that you know how to do better than anybody. And you know how to do that better than anybody because you love to do it. Be authentic, and then figure out how to map that to what society actually wants. Apply some leverage. Put your name on it so you take the risks, but you gain the rewards. Have ownership and equity in what you do, and then just crank it out.
There's these 6 dirty words. That's easy for you to say.
Yeah.
That is a terrible trap.
I mean, look, I grew up as a first-generation immigrant in Jamaica, Queens, with zero money, single mom, 2 kids, working day and night, going to school. I washed dishes. I was mowing lawns. I was working since the age of 11, on and off here and there. It's not to say that it's easy. It's not easy. It's
not easy.
Actually really freaking hard.
Yeah.
It is the hardest thing you will do. but it's also the rewarding thing. You know, look at the kids who are born rich, no meaning to their lives. Your real resume is just a cataloging of all your suffering, right? If I were to ask you to describe your real life to yourself and you look back on your deathbed, you're going to go back and say, what are the interesting things I've done? And it's all going to be around the sacrifices that you made and the hard things that you did. So you have to do hard things anyway to create your own meaning in life. Making money is a fine one.